Absolutely stoked for this one. Oregon has finally announced their first transfer portal edition. We'll see if more arrive. I'd expect there to be more on the way, but Brandon Angel is the first transfer that Dana Altman Company have landed. He's in the transfer portal cycle. He's a fifth year coming from Stanford. He spent the last 4 seasons with the Cardinal. 6'8", 210 pounds, tremendous positional versatility. I think this guy can play all over the floor. I'd be shocked if he comes in and doesn't start. And he just had a heck of a year with the Cardinals. So, averaged a career best 13 points per game, shot almost 45% from beyond the arc. Now, that sounds great, and it is great, because I am here for a guy that shoots in the mid-40s from 3. He only took about 2.5 a game. It's really not something that he has as a focal point. It's a feature. It's not the feature, right? It's a complementary component. It's not what he is there on the floor to do. So I was doing some digging on Brandon Angel, and this past year at Stanford, 68% of his points came at the rim, and only 13% of his shot attempts came from three-point land. Now, he hit them at an efficient clip. So this is a guy that scores down low and can score from outside. And when you watch the highlight reel of kind of what he did this past year with the Cardinal, which was the first time he averaged double-digit points per game. He was a 9-point-a-game scorer the season prior, and he was a 36% three-point shooter, up that to a career best 44.7% this past year. Love to see that sort of progression, but this is a guy who wants to get downhill. And frankly, when I look at him, I see what KJ Evans can kind of become, but I think with Angel, he's someone that can play all over the court. Now, Evans can do that as well. And if Oregon has a 3-man big rotation of Angel, Evans, and Nate Biddle, boy, I think you're in a good spot there. And if Mookie Cook is healthy, and Bam Tracy is, of course, coming back from this past season, that could be your starting 5. I'm not saying Oregon's necessarily done in the transfer portal, because there are certainly other avenues that they can explore. This doesn't have to be the only move they make. I'd be a little surprised, frankly, if it is the only move they make. Cliff Amore, who is the Rutgers big man that I talked about recently on the show, guy's an efficient scorer, great shot blocker, good low post presence, good rebounder. He is not, it appears, close. He's set several visits. I don't know that he's close to making a commitment at this point in time or choosing a home, but Oregon has reportedly made contact with him at the very least, and certainly they'd love to get him on campus for a visit, as I was talking about earlier with Dominic Williams, the defensive line transfer from TCU. But this is a great move. Like this move, getting Brandon Angel, is the sort of move that excites me, and should excite all Oregon basketball fans out there and Oregon fans thinking about buying into next year's basketball team. Because I think you're going to see a year 1 to year 2 jump from Jackson Shellstad, who had a great true freshman campaign. You got to solidify the front court, and this is a big move certainly to do that. And you bring in a guy who is a fifth-year senior, has played a lot of basketball, has started all but 3 games, I think, over the last couple of seasons. He started all but 1 this past year with Stanford, and that's the sort of guy that you bring in because you are aware, hey, we can put together a tournament team. We can try to make a run here, and that's where Oregon's headspace should be. And I love this move. I absolutely love this move. I don't know immediately, if I'm being honest with you, what exactly the rotations could look like. But the amount of size and versatility Oregon is suddenly putting together here, adding a guy like Angel to the mix, I think is just utterly fantastic. Because Bam Tracy is about 6'5". Mookie Cook is 6'5", 6'6", in that sort of range. And then you've got Shellstad at the point, and he's not the biggest guy, but he's your point guard. He can be smaller. Keyshawn Barthélemy comes off the bench. He's a little smaller. But you've got KJ Evans, who's 6'8", 6'9". You've now got Angel at 6'8", and you've got Nate Biddle, who's a 7-footer. If Biddle is your starting 5, which has great upside, but a little bit of risk given his injury history, You could absolutely start Shellstad, Tracy, Angel, Evans, Biddle. That could be your starting five. And I got to tell you, that's a big athletic group. Now, is that guaranteed to be the starting five? No, I don't automatically think that. But there were some big time names that were going after Angel here, and Oregon being able to land him, I think is such a great sign. And it's a testament to what I talked about when the season ended, unfortunately, in the round of 32 against Creighton, which is, hey, season was a win. Season was a win because it looked like it was going to be a third straight trip to the NIT, and then they made a run. Made a surge, got to the NCAA tournament. And I don't know if you pick up Brandon Angel if you don't put your program on the map like that. If you don't demonstrate, hey, I'm Dana Altman and I still got it. And, Altman's coached against this guy for the last 4 seasons of the Pac-12 and knows what he's capable of. But, when I watch the way that he scores, he's a guy who you can give the ball to in an ISO situation. He is great off a catch and shoot to put up a three. But he's not a tremendous athlete. Like Evans is a much more athletic guy. But I think right now Angel is the more skilled guy and the more crafty guy down in the low post area. His footwork and flurry of moves, really, really good. And he's someone who wants to back down smaller players from the mid to high post. He's got really, really nice touch around the rim. Doesn't show a ton of mid-range game on his highlight reel, but I like where he's at. I like where his game is at and what he brings to the table, and I think it presents options. That's what this is bringing Dana Altman. You have got options, and I think the only move that is left at this point is to go and see if you can find a starting center and have Nate Biddle be your backup big. Because if your 4 bigs are, say, Cliff Amori from Rutgers with Brandon Angel, and then you've got KJ Evans and Nate Biddle, that's your front court. And that's a really good front court. So my NCAA tournament expectations, they are high in terms of what I expect in terms of making the tournament. Is what I'm trying to say. Not quite sure. Got to see the full team before I can say, is this a Final Four team? Is this an Elite Eight team? Like, what are they gonna be able to do? But you add a guy like this, you should be in the NCAA tournament, and it should not have to come down to winning the Big Ten tournament either. On that note, speaking of Oregon basketball, Oregon's getting a new court. They have scrapped the Into the Woods design. It is going to be changed. Question here from Bud, who gets a trio of questions on today's show. Perks of being active in the mailbag. In terms of design, how would you like the new floor at Matt Court to look? Well, remember, Matt Court, Matthew Knight Arena, technically would be the way to refer to it there. I suspect it will be uniquely Oregon, but I hope it will be more universally embraced than the initial design. Yeah, I mean, I liked the concept. I didn't hate the court as much as everybody else. I understand why for some it was tough to look at. I think because they were so, far be it for me to be an artsy guy. I'm definitely not. I think you put an O at center court, and other than that, I think you keep it pretty straightforward. That I feel like after, all the backlash in the years of people bashing on the court and there's too much going on and everything, I wouldn't be surprised if it's incredibly simple. Put either an O or the Fighting Ducks logo at center court. I think that would look pretty sick. Put one of those things there and say, all right, everything else just basketball lines. I could see them going in that direction, but I'm more than a little intrigued to see what the new court looks like, just like I'm more than a little intrigued to see what move they could make next. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Ducks.